I hate bugs. I hate all kinds of insects, such as flies, bees, even mosquitoes. But the one insect that I hate most of all is the common cockroach. To me, a cockroach is the scariest and most disgusting insect of them all. Ever since I was a kid and I saw a cockroach crawl on my food, I've always hated those kinds of bugs. The thought of something like that crawling on my body just gives me the creeps. I didn't know it when I was little, but one day, my worst nightmare would come true in the most horrifying way that I could have ever imagined. Once I was all grown up, I moved out of my parents' house, and I moved into a house of my own. At first, I thought that it was the perfect house for me to live in. But I was mistaken. One day, when I was getting ready to eat some spaghetti in the comfort of my new home, I saw a cockroach crawling on the table. Naturally, I freaked out when I saw it. I grabbed one of my shoes and I crushed the cockroach until it was dead. I used a clean napkin to wrap the cockroach up and threw it in the trash. I thought that would be the end of it. But my nightmare was just beginning. After I threw the cockroach in the trash, I saw 2 more roaches on the floor. I grabbed a can of Raid to spray them, and those roaches died too. But then, I saw even more roaches appear as they were crawling all over the floor. Soon, my house became infested with roaches. It was like no matter what I did, they just kept coming. It wasn't long until I was dealing with an army of roaches. After I realized that they were too much of a problem for me to handle on my own, I decided to call an exterminator to get rid of the roaches. When the exterminator got to my house, he was beyond terrified by what he saw. He said that he'd never seen an infestation like mine in over 25 years. It was horrible. Truly horrible. The exterminator used his insecticide to kill half of the roaches. The other half managed to scatter and escape through some cracks and holes in the walls. The exterminator sprayed the cracks and the holes to make sure that the roaches wouldn't come back. He sprayed all around the house. The only place left to spray was the basement. I opened the door to the basement to let the exterminator in, so that he could spray down there and put an end to my roach problem for good. Once the door was open, the exterminator was confident that these would be the last of the roaches. But he was wrong. The exterminator went in, spraying the last of his insecticide all over the basement to make sure that he killed the rest of the roaches. As he was spraying, I let out a sigh of relief. I thought that my cockroach nightmare was finally over. Then suddenly, the spraying stopped, and everything was quiet. At first, I thought that meant that the exterminator had finished his job and killed the rest of the roaches. I called out to him, asking if he was done, but there was no answer. I called out to him again, but still the exterminator didn't respond. I slowly walked down into the basement, where I saw the exterminator at the foot of the stairs standing motionlessly. He was trembling with fear, and I didn't know why. I asked him if he was okay, as I put my hand on his shoulder. The exterminator whispered to me in a fearful tone,
"Run. Get out of here before it's too late."
I was confused by what he meant. I didn't understand what he meant until I saw what he was staring at that made him so scared. I too was struck with fear when I saw what he was looking at. In the center of my basement, just 5 feet away from us, there were a dozen giant cockroach larvae squirming around on the floor as if they were getting ready to emerge from their cocoons. They were big as a dog. I was so scared by what I saw that I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I'd never seen something like this before. I didn't know what to do, and the exterminator was just as scared as I was. In fact, he was so scared that he dropped his insecticide on the ground, and he didn't have the courage to pick it up, for fear of what might happen if he did. As I was about to grab the exterminator by his shoulder to help lead him to the stairs, something even more horrible was down there with us. From out of the shadows, a beautiful woman appeared, but she didn't look human. This woman had brown hair, 2 antennae on her head, black, soulless compound eyes similar to the eyes of an insect, 4 arms, and she had the wings of a cockroach on her back. The exterminator and I were speechless. We didn't know who or what this creature was, or what it was doing in my basement. But we knew one thing. We had to get out of there quickly. Unfortunately, just as we were about to turn around, more of her children emerged from behind her. These roaches were even bigger than the ones in the center, and they looked as if they were ready for their meal. Then, without warning, the Roach Queen, as I now call her, pointed her finger towards us, and she let out a big hiss. Before we could react, her children immediately started crawling towards us with so much speed that we had no choice but to run back up the stairs and get out while we could. The exterminator sprayed his insecticide on the giant roaches, but for some reason, it didn't work. The insecticide didn't have any effect on them at all. Even the Roach Queen wasn't affected by it. It was as if they were all immune to it somehow. I managed to get away, but the exterminator wasn't as lucky as I was. I looked back and watched in horror as the Roach Queen's children devoured the exterminator alive. I could hear the exterminator screaming for me to help him from under the horde of roaches that were eating his flesh. I wanted to help him. Truly, I did. But there was nothing that I could do for him. When the roaches were done with him, they left the exterminator's body nothing but a lifeless husk of bones. Then, they crawled up the stairs, coming straight towards me. I turned around and started running again. As soon as I got to the top of the stairs, I closed the door to the basement, and I locked it from the outside. I could hear the giant roaches as they were banging on the door, in a desperate attempt to get out so that they could eat me, too. After I locked the basement door, I grabbed my keys, got into my car, and drove as far away from that godforsaken house as possible, and I never went back. I drove all the way to my parents' house and told them about what happened to me. I told them all about the Roach Queen and the giant cockroaches, but they didn't believe me. They thought that I was making it all up. Then my parents started laughing at me, thinking that I was joking around. But as they were laughing, I heard scratching noises and a hissing sound coming from outside. I turned around slowly, and I knew that it could only mean 2 things. The Roach Queen and her children had somehow escaped, and they'd followed me all the way to my parents' house. I can't remember how many times I've had this dream, but the fear and helplessness still make my heart ache. That's right, I'm terrified, absolutely haunted by spiders. As a child, I lived on my dad's insect farm, surrounded by spiders. The fear nearly gave me a fatal heart attack, leading my parents to divorce. Now, I live with my mum. My graduation is soon, but Dad didn't reply to my invitation. His last email, 2 weeks ago, proudly announced his success with mutant spider research. I have a bad feeling something went wrong with my dad's research. I've decided to go to his farm and make sure he's safe. It's been almost 10 years since I last set foot in this house. The house was pitch dark, damp, and eerily silent, with only my voice echoing as I cautiously called out, "Dad!" There was just one place left to check. Taking a deep breath, I tried to suppress my fear and turn the doorknob. Suddenly, a swarm of black spiders scurried out from behind the door. My body froze, trembling as I collapsed to the floor. At that moment, someone stepped out of the basement. It was my dad, George, the biologist, silently blowing a strange flute that sent the spiders retreating into the basement. Dad helped me up, his frail hand pale with black veins and dark, sharp hairs like a spider's bristles. Something was definitely wrong with him.
Why are you here, Jax?
I handed him the invitation card. He took it without a word, his cold demeanor cutting deep. Then I noticed something stuck on his eye. Instinctively, I reached out to remove it. It was a strand of spider silk, not something accidentally caught in his eye, but something coming from inside it. Dad jerked back, clearly annoyed by my actions, and rubbed his eye. The strand of silk disappeared without a trace. "Dad, my car broke down. Can I stay here for the night?"
Fine. But stay in your room. Don't wander around.
Seeing Dad's odd behavior, I knew something was wrong, likely because of the spiders. I made an excuse to stay and find out. As a meticulous researcher, I figured Dad would have recorded his entire experiment. I was right. Taking a deep breath, I opened the first folder. Skipping the confusing reports, I clicked on the first video, and it terrified me. The clip showed a female spider carrying an enormous egg sac. The spider screamed in pain, like a woman about to give birth. But spiders lay eggs, don't they? My suspicions were quickly confirmed. I watched as a massive baby spider broke out of the egg, dragging its mother's insides with it. The hungry spider rushed to its first meal, while the mother lay weak, helpless, and still as her young devoured her. It was so cold-blooded, so cruel. It was more disgusting than any spider or monster I had ever imagined. It took me a moment to regain my composure. I opened the final video, but what I saw was even worse. I was sure this spider was no longer a normal creature. Thinking about how this mutated spider had been born, I feared for my dad. What would happen when those eggs hatched? Suddenly, my dad appeared in front of me, his face furious.
Jax! What are you doing here?
I forced down my fear and rushed to tear off his shirt, hoping what I had seen was just a scene from a sci-fi movie. But I was wrong. These spiders were more dangerous than I had imagined. Each egg was stuck to my dad's skin, with a tiny tentacle piercing his spine. They were living and growing off his spinal fluid. The fear in my chest grew stronger, and I felt dizzy, my hands and legs trembling uncontrollably. Looking up at my dad, I noticed his eyes were slowly turning into those of a spider. I heard him gasp and scream at me.
Ron, get out of here!
He still had his mind. He still cared for me. I had to save him, telling myself that. I grabbed a ruler from the desk and rushed toward him. I shoved him to the ground, using all my strength to crush the eggs on his back. One by one, they cracked open and the baby spiders fell, filling the air with the scent of blood and a foul odor. Suddenly, my dad erupted with strength. He shoved me off, screaming,
Don't hurt my children!
"You've lost it, Dad! I'm your son! I'll save you from these monsters!" I yelled, only to realize, in shock, that the man in front of me was no longer the dad I knew. He had fully transformed into a monster. He shielded the baby spiders like a true mother spider. glaring at me as though I were an enemy trying to harm his offspring. The look in his eyes caused me pain and despair. What could I do to save him? But it was too late. The monster, now enormous and with all the terrifying traits of a spider, stood before me. My body froze, even breathing felt difficult, and my heart began to ache again. My dad's agonizing scream jolted me back. I turned to see the newborn spiders, driven by instinct, making him their first meal. Survival instinct drove me to run. I tried to drag my dad with me, but it was already too late.
Just leave it at the door. I want to sanitize this entire house. Hurry up.
This mattress still looks brand new. I really hit the jackpot today. Tonight, I'll finally sleep on a warm, comfy bed. This is my home. It's everything I have. As someone uneducated with no place to rely on, I've struggled to survive alone in this suffocating city. I had to learn to save as much as possible, just to build up a little bit of capital so I wouldn't end up wandering the streets. After a long, exhausting day of work, I quickly finished my simple dinner and happily fell asleep on my new mattress. That night, I heard a rustling sound beneath the mattress, but thought it was just the fabric rubbing together. I felt like something was crawling on me, but I convinced myself it was just because I wasn't used to the bed yet. The next morning, I woke up with my body covered in red welts, itching so badly it drove me crazy. That's when I realized there might really be something wrong with the mattress I brought home. I quickly flipped it over. What I saw made my skin crawl. Underneath the mattress were hundreds of bedbugs, wriggling and crawling all over. Terrified, I let go of the mattress immediately. I looked up the cost of bedbug treatments online, but the prices were outrageous. $900 for one cleaning session? Are you kidding me? That's half a month's salary for me. I searched online for ways to get rid of bedbugs. I decided to start with the cheapest method, using baking soda. After finishing, I went out to work, hoping that tonight I'd finally be able to sleep peacefully. That evening, I returned home with a vacuum cleaner I had borrowed from a co-worker. I used it to vacuum up the dead bedbugs and the baking soda from the mattress. After fiddling around for a while, I finally felt like I could get a good night's sleep, but the itching didn't stop. I could feel something biting me, sucking my blood. It was the bedbugs. They were far more stubborn than I had imagined. I grabbed an iron and started pressing the mattress back and forth. The bugs, with their blood-filled bellies, popped with a crisp, crackling sound under the searing heat. Once there wasn't a single bedbug left in sight, I felt reassured enough to go to sleep again. But my peaceful sleep continued to be disrupted. I heard a rustling sound coming from inside my ear. Annoyed, I reached in to clean it out, and I pulled out an entire family of bedbugs. This was beyond what I could tolerate. Terrified, I jumped out of bed, and what I saw froze me in place. There were bedbugs everywhere, on the bed, on the walls, on the sofa, in the kitchen. My home had been completely overrun by bedbugs. Panicked, I ran out of the house. The next morning, I bought a cheap bottle of insect spray. It wasn't specifically for bedbugs, but they're insects too, right? No, judging by the state of my home, these bedbugs weren't ordinary anymore. They were a bloodthirsty swarm. Furious, I charged into battle against them, determined to reclaim my home. After being sprayed, the bugs seemed to go berserk and started attacking me. Panicking, I sprayed the insecticide on myself. The blisters on my hands flared up, red and painful, like needles piercing my skin. The bottle quickly ran out, but there were still far too many bugs. They climbed over the bodies of their fallen comrades, swarming toward me. A chill ran down my spine and goosebumps prickled my skin. Acting on instinct, I grabbed a lighter and waved it toward the swarm. The bugs, also reacting on instinct, scattered in fear of the fire. Triumphant, I thought to myself, if only I had known this earlier, I wouldn't have wasted money on insecticide. I could have just used fire to drive them out of my house. But my victory was short-lived. A horrible accident happened. The fire from the lighter accidentally caught the insect spray bottle. As I panicked, trying to put out the flames, a searing pain erupted from the blisters on my hands. Horrified, I looked down at my hands. From the blisters, bedbug larvae wriggled out, crawling all over my skin. Terrified, I tried to shake them off, forgetting I was holding the lighter. The fire caught on my clothes and the insecticide I had sprayed on myself, turning me into a living torch.
Recently, a rare fire incident caused by using fire to exterminate bedbugs occurred in a small alley on Triple X Street. The fire left the homeowner severely injured and completely destroyed the house. Even more concerning is that a massive population of bedbugs from the house has dispersed throughout the alley and appears to be increasing rapidly.
Brazil was everything I dreamed it would be. Warm sun, vibrant music, and miles of golden sand stretching as far as the eye could see. Miles, my best friend and perpetual thrill-seeker, had planned every detail of our trip. He swore up and down it would be life-changing. So, when he suggested we visit a unique, authentic snake massage spa, I hesitated. The very mention of snakes made my stomach churn. But Miles laughed off my concerns.
Come on, man,
He said, grinning from ear to ear.
it's all the rage. People say it's therapeutic. Plus, what's the point of a vacation if we don't try something crazy?
Against my better judgment, I agreed. The spa was tucked away in a narrow alley, its faded sign barely legible under the dim streetlights. The door creaked ominously as we entered, and the air inside was thick with the mingling scents of incense and damp earth.
Relax.
Miles said, clapping me on the shoulder.
It's supposed to feel ancient, authentic.
The receptionist, a tall woman with piercing green eyes, led us into a room that looked like a jungle terrarium. Vines hung from the ceiling, and the ground slithered. Hundreds of snakes of varying sizes and colors writhed on the floor, their scales catching the dim light like tiny shards of glass. Okay, nope, I'm out. I whispered, my voice cracking, but Miles was already stepping out of his shoes.
They're harmless, non-venomous. Just let them crawl around a bit. It's supposed to be good for circulation.
He lowered himself onto the snake-covered floor, leaning back with a satisfied sigh as the creatures began slithering over his legs.
See? Totally fine.
He said, waving me over. My body refused to move, but Miles's teasing was relentless. Eventually, I convinced myself to take a single step. The moment my bare foot touched the floor, the cold, slimy texture of a snake's scales brushed against my skin. I froze. Another snake curled around my ankle, its tiny, harmless bite sending a strange, tingling sensation up my leg. My heart raced, but as more snakes swarmed around me, I began to feel oddly numb.
Not so bad, right?
Miles grinned. I wanted to scream at him, but my throat was dry. The next phase of the treatment was supposed to be deep relaxation. We were led to 2 massage tables and instructed to lie face down. The room was dark now, lit only by flickering candles. The snakes had been cleared from the floor, but the eerie hissing sound remained, echoing faintly through the walls. As I lay there, the sensation of something smooth and heavy rolling across my back made me shudder. "It's just part of the process," I whispered to myself. "Breathe. It's fine." For a moment I managed to relax. The weight moving along my spine felt oddly soothing, like a warm compress. But then I felt it slither up my shoulder. "That's not a hand," I muttered, eyes snapping open. The sight that greeted me froze my blood. A massive snake was coiled around Miles, its thick body constricting him like a vice. He looked at me, gasping for air, but he was smiling.
It's fine. These snakes are trained. It's...
His voice broke off into a choking wheeze as the snake tightened its grip. Panic surged through me. "Miles!" I shouted, jumping off the table. But before I could reach him, something heavy dropped onto my back. The impact knocked the air from my lungs. It was another snake. This one was even larger, its muscular body wrapping itself around my chest and shoulders. Its scales were cold and rough, scratching against my skin as it coiled tighter and tighter. I clawed at it, trying to free myself, but the more I struggled, the tighter it squeezed. My vision blurred as my chest heaved. Desperate for air, I could hear Miles screaming now, his voice a hoarse, guttural cry.
Help me!
I tried to look at him, but the snake's tail wrapped around my neck, pinning my head in place. My pulse pounded in my ears as the edges of my vision darkened. With one final burst of adrenaline, I threw myself sideways off the table. The snake's grip loosened just enough for me to suck in a ragged breath. I hit the floor hard, the impact jolting through my ribs, but I was free. For a moment I lay there, gasping and disoriented. Then I heard it, a low, guttural hiss. I turned my head just in time to see the snake lunging toward me, its massive jaws unhinged and gaping wide. I scrambled backward, but there was nowhere to go. The snake's mouth engulfed me, its sharp teeth slicing into my skin as it began to swallow me whole.
My mother told me stories every night before bed. She would curl beside me, wrapping her tail around us both. One night, though, her story was different. She told me about the 3 little pigs. It started like the tale everyone in the forest knew. The pigs outsmarted the big bad wolf and lived happily in their brick house. But in her version, her voice trembled near the end.
And then those 3 pigs, they ate the poor wolf while he was still alive.
Why do they say wolves are dangerous, Mama? We didn't even do anything bad.
That's what they want you to believe.
I stared at her, wide-eyed and silent. That was when I noticed the scar on her head. A bald patch where no fur had grown back. I had asked about it once before. She hadn't answered.
Never trust pigs. They are the cleverest, most deceitful creatures in the forest. They're the most dangerous. Promise me you'll never go near them.
I promised. Though I didn't understand why the forest feared wolves like us, while the pigs were loved. I held on to her words not because I believed them, but because she believed them so deeply. That changed the day I saw them. I was wandering along the edge of the woods when a tomato rolled into my paw. It was still warm from the sun. As I bent to pick it up, I looked up and saw 3 pigs just a few steps away. Their baskets were filled with tomatoes. All 3 were smiling. Something about those smiles felt wrong. I raised the tomato. I just wanted to give it back. I think you dropped this. They didn't reply. One of them threw a tomato at my face. It splattered across my muzzle. Then the second, then the third. They laughed and walked away like it was all a game. I didn't want revenge. I only wanted to know why. So I ran after them. They didn't run. Before I could react, they shoved me into the dirt. One pinned me while the others laughed, pulling out a pair of buzzing clippers. I screamed, terrified, as they sheared off patches of my fur. My skin stung. I howled at a sound I didn't even recognize as my own. That was when I heard voices approaching. Others in the forest had heard my cries. The pigs moved fast. They smeared tomato juice onto themselves, groaning and collapsing. A group of animals arrived in the clearing just as they hit the ground. Within seconds, they looked like victims. And I, mouth stained red, half-shaven and trembling, looked exactly like the monster they needed me to be. No one looked closely. No one asked what had happened. A wolf attacked them, someone said. The crowd rushed me. I curled into a ball, trying to shield myself, but their hooves and claws came down without mercy. I didn't fight back. I only cried. Then they left, satisfied, certain they had saved someone from a predator. I walked home alone. That night, I finally understood what my mother had tried to teach me. The truth didn't matter. The forest only believed what made them feel safe. After that, I stayed inside. I didn't speak. I didn't look outside. Only my mother remained. One morning, she told me she would go find food. Before leaving, she turned to me and said,
Don't open the door for anyone.
She never came back. By nightfall, my hunger gnawed at me, but fear was louder. Eventually, I stood by the window, hoping to catch a glimpse of her return. What I saw instead made my breath stop. The 3 pigs were sitting by a fire just outside the trees, turning something over the flames that looked like a tail. One of them looked up and met my gaze. I dropped below the window. Moments later, I heard a knock. I crept to the door and peered through the crack. It was her face. I opened the door, hope rising in my chest. But it wasn't her, it was them. And in their hands they held her head. They stepped forward with a sack. I turned and ran. I ran until the air burned in my lungs. I didn't look back. I didn't have to. I knew they were following, certain they'd already won. They caught me. One dragged me down. Another pinned my arms. I screamed, but nothing came out. My voice was already gone. They cut off my ears. They pulled out my teeth. They stripped away my fur until I was raw and trembling. I wasn't a wolf anymore. And they weren't pigs. They put on my fur. They wore my face. They became the predator the forest had always feared. That night they hunted. They tore through the trees, killing rabbits, lambs and deer. They left behind torn bodies and blood. And in the morning, they cried. They told the forest they had been attacked again, that the wolf had returned, that they had barely survived. They claimed he had escaped, injured but alive, hiding somewhere in the shadows, and the forest believed them, because it was easier. Now I lie here, deep in the woods, my body broken and bruised. I try to move, but everything aches. My breath is shallow. My vision is fading. I can't speak. I can only listen to the voices drawing closer. The forest is coming. They think they found the monster. I hear the pigs among them, pointing toward where I lie. One of the sheep shouts that it's time to end this, that the wolf must be destroyed. One of the pigs walks past me and pauses. He leans in, just enough so that I can hear his voice.
You see? They only believe what we want them to believe. In the end, it's the winners who get to rewrite the story. And now, goodbye.
I'm a microbiologist. My specialty? Fungal and viral mutations. If it's gross, dangerous, or involves things sprouting out of places they shouldn't, I'm your guy. It's a dream job. If your dreams include endless pressure, angry bosses, and occasionally dodging test subjects that want to eat your face. Most days, I wanted to curl into a ball and scream, but instead I trudged on, wearing my lab coat like a cape of martyrdom. Then one day, I thought, what if I didn't have to? The idea hit me like a runaway pipette. What if I turned myself into one of those creatures? Temporarily, of course. I'd be too sick to work, collect my occupational hazard insurance, and finally relax. Bonus: nobody could yell at a guy with mutant claws. Thus began the project. I concocted a gas designed to mutate human bodies for 3 days. The fungal compound would dissolve and reconfigure tissue, creating temporary, horrifying mutations before self-destructing. Side effects included mild swelling and a rash, basically the flu with an extra dose of nightmare fuel. Perfect for taking a break without worrying about anyone dying. Step 1. Test it on myself, because that's always the best idea, right? I dipped my finger into the glass jar containing the gas. At first, nothing happened. Then, everything happened. The skin on my finger turned black, sprouting tiny fungal threads that twisted and curled like they had a vendetta. My veins popped like black lightning bolts, and my hand ballooned into a grotesque claw. The pain was intense. But an hour later, it was over. My hand was back to normal, save for some itchy redness. I even high-fived myself with my non-mutated hand for pulling it off. The plan was working. By lunchtime, everything was ready. I figured I'd reward myself with a nice last meal before my vacation. A bowl of pho never tasted so good. When I got back, though, something was wrong. The capsule was locked. Inside was Min, my overly curious colleague, slumped over like he'd just taken a really bad nap. My stomach dropped faster than my high school GPA. The idiot must have activated the gas while snooping around. "Min!" I shouted, banging on the glass. No response. And then he moved. His body spasmed as fungal veins crept across his skin. His limbs contorted, his jaw unhinged, and his head grew. A massive, mushroom-like structure burst from his skull, spraying spores across the pod. Min, buddy, you okay?" He roared. The pod door hissed open and Min stepped out, or what was left of him. His claws scraped the floor as he lumbered forward, a terrifying mix of rage and confusion. "Okay, let's not do anything rash," I stammered, backing away. He didn't listen. One swipe of his oversized arm sent my lab bench flying. I dodged and bolted for the control panel, slamming the emergency lockdown button. The lab door sealed shut with a satisfying clang. No way was I letting the boss find out. If this got out, I'd be buried in work, overtime, and pay cuts. This mess was mine to fix. Unfortunately, Min wasn't a fan of locked doors. He pounded on the reinforced glass, cracks spiderwebbing with each hit. I needed a plan. Fast. Grabbing a fire extinguisher, I crept toward him. The second he broke through, I let loose a blizzard of foam, momentarily blinding him. He howled, swiping wildly, but I managed to activate the decontamination system. Gas filled the room, designed to neutralize pathogens and hopefully raging mushroom men. For a moment, it worked. Min staggered, coughing and wheezing. I started to breathe again. But then he adapted, because of course he did. Great. Desperation hit. My eyes darted to the capsule, the one thing that could even the odds. If I mutated myself, I might stand a chance. I sprinted for it, sliding into the pod like an action hero. But when I hit the activation button, nothing happened. Sparks flew from the control panel. Min's earlier rampage had severed the power supply. Of course! Why not? I slumped in the pod, exhausted. Min stalked closer, his heavy breaths filling the room. I closed my eyes, ready to accept my fate. But then, salvation arrived. The lab door burst open, and a team of security guards stormed in. They shot Min with tranquilizer darts and hit him with electrified nets. He thrashed and roared. But eventually, the beast went down. As the guards dragged Min away, my boss showed up, hitting me with their signature line.
Care to explain what the hell just happened here?
I gave a weak thumbs up. Science experiment? You'd think my problems ended there, but no. First, I was stuck writing a mountain of incident reports. Then, I was ordered to develop a cure for Min while taking over his workload. After a week of sleepless nights and more caffeine than any human should consume, I finally cracked it. Min was cured, though he wasn't thrilled about the whole mutant mushroom thing. Fair. As for me, I learned an important lesson. Sometimes taking a break is better than accidentally turning your coworker into a murder machine. But hey, at least I didn't have to dodge test subjects this week. Small victories. Diego and I arrived at our usual beach just as the sun began its slow ascent over the horizon. The waves rolled in steady and strong, perfect for what we had planned. We had surfed here countless times, but today was different. Today, we were going to settle it once and for all. Who was the better surfer? I strapped my helmet-mounted camera in place, ready to capture every moment. Diego laughed, adjusting his board.
Two guys out here alone surfing at sunrise. This looks a lot like a date, man.
Shut up, I chuckled. Let's do this. Before getting on our boards, we swam out to loosen up. The water was crisp, jolting me fully awake. Diego suddenly yelped, his body jerking to one side.
Damn it, Coral.
He muttered, lifting his foot. Blood dripped into the water.
Nothing serious.
Hope you're not attracting any sharks, I joked. Diego smirked.
Yeah, right. We've been surfing here for years. No sharks.
As I treaded water, something caught my eye. A girl standing on a distant rock formation, waving at us. She was beautiful, her long blonde hair blowing in the wind. She waved with an urgency that made me pause. Diego followed my gaze and grinned.
Bet you $10 I get her number first.
You're on! We paddled towards the rocks, eager to see her up close. But as we got closer, her expression shifted from friendly to frantic. Her mouth moved, and I caught snippets of her voice over the waves.
Shark! Shark!
I glanced at Diego, expecting him to laugh, but his smirk faltered. We exchanged a look. No way, we had surfed here for years. No one had ever seen a shark. She had to be mistaken. Then the water beneath Diego erupted. A massive, dark shape shot out, jaws wide, clamping down on his torso. Diego let out a strangled scream before he was yanked under. Blood gushed into the water, mixing with the foam of the waves. His surfboard snapped in two, the jagged edge floating aimlessly on the surface, stained red. For a second, I couldn't move. My mind refused to process what had just happened. Then instinct took over. I spun around and paddled with everything I had, aiming for the rock where the girl stood, still screaming. My arms burned, my lungs fought for air, but I didn't stop. Something moved beneath me. A dark, gliding shadow. It was circling, toying with me. The waves pushed me forward, propelling me with terrifying speed, but so did the thing beneath me. I could feel it, sense it, hunting me. The primal fear of being prey sent ice through my veins. The rock was close. Just a few more strokes, then BAM! My surfboard launched into the air, the force of the impact sending me flying. My body hit the water hard, and for a second everything went silent. The world around me blurred as I struggled to orient myself, the salt water stinging my eyes and filling my throat. I gasped and thrashed, kicking blindly. My hands reached for my board, but it was gone. Disoriented, I tried to resurface, but my limbs felt useless in the endless blue. My heart pounded as I scanned the water around me. And then, I saw it. The shark, just beneath me, its mouth yawning open. Its eyes were black, soulless, locked onto me like I was nothing more than food. My body locked up, frozen with terror. I kicked, desperate, clawing towards the surface. My breath came in ragged gasps, the girl's screams echoing distantly through the roar of the ocean. The rock was so close, but I couldn't tell if I was swimming fast enough, if I was going to make it. Another forceful jolt from below sent me spinning. Pain exploded through my leg as something sharp scraped against it. My vision darkened for a moment, but adrenaline forced me forward, kicking, reaching. The shark's massive form loomed beneath me, circling, waiting. The girl was reaching out her hand now, her face stricken with horror. I forced every ounce of strength into one last desperate push. My fingers brushed against the jagged surface of the rock. My body trembled as I hoisted myself up, every muscle screaming in protest. I reached out, fingers grazing the rock's rough surface. The girl grabbed my wrist, eyes wide with relief.
You made it!
I nodded weakly, trying to be calm. And then the air was cool and damp as I adjusted my headlamp, the beam of light cutting through the darkness of Nutty Putty Cave. My brother Josh was a few feet behind me, his breathing steady but cautious. We'd been exploring caves together for years, but this one felt different. There was something about the way the walls seemed to close in, the way the shadows danced just beyond the reach of our lights, that made my skin crawl. Still, I pushed forward. I was John Jones, a seasoned cave explorer. Fear wasn't something I entertained.
John, you sure about this?
Josh called out, his voice echoing off the narrow walls.
This part of the cave isn't mapped. We could get lost.
I grinned over my shoulder. That's the point, isn't it? Adventure, discovery, all that. Come on, Josh. Live a little. He muttered something under his breath, but I didn't catch it. My attention was already fixed on a narrow crevice ahead, barely 18 inches wide. My heart raced. This had to be it. A passage no one had ever documented. The birth canal, they called it. I'd heard stories, rumors of its existence, and now here it was, waiting for me. I'm going in, I announced, already squeezing my body into the gap.
John, wait!
Josh's voice was sharp, panicked.
We don't know what's down there!
But I was already moving, the cold stone pressing against my chest and back. The passage was tighter than I expected, the walls scraping against my shoulders as I inched forward. My headlamp flickered, casting eerie shadows on the jagged rock. I could hear Josh shouting behind me, but his voice grew fainter with every inch I advanced. And then, suddenly, I couldn't move. Panic surged through me as I tried to twist my body, to push myself backward, but the walls were too close. I was stuck. My heart pounded in my chest as I struggled, my elbows scraping against the rock. The air felt thinner now, and I could feel the weight of the cave pressing down on me. "Josh!" I screamed, my voice echoing through the narrow passage. "Josh, I'm stuck!" There was no response. I twisted my head as far as I could, but all I could see was darkness. I tried my best to squeeze through this section. Just getting past this part would mean I could make it out. I had memorized the map by heart, and then, without warning, I slipped and fell straight down. It happened so fast. One moment I was wedged in place, and the next I was sliding downward, the rough stone tearing at my clothes and skin. I tried to grab onto something, anything, but there was nothing to hold onto. I tumbled deeper into the cave, my body twisting and turning until I came to a sudden, jarring stop. I was upside down, my legs pinned above me, my head dangling in the empty void below. The pain was immediate, a searing ache that radiated through my chest and shoulders. I tried to move, but my body wouldn't obey. I was trapped, completely immobilized. "Josh!" I screamed again, my voice hoarse and desperate. "Help me!" But there was no answer. The cave was silent, save for the sound of my own ragged breathing. I didn't know how long I hung there, suspended in the darkness, but with each passing moment, the reality of my situation became more and more clear. I was going to die here. As the hours dragged on, my mind began to play tricks on me. I saw flashes of light, heard whispers in the darkness. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but then I saw them. Shadows moving in the corners of my vision, figures standing just out of reach. One of them stepped closer, a man in a grey suit, his face obscured by the darkness. He didn't speak, didn't move, but I could feel his presence, cold and unyielding. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. They weren't just in my head, they were real. The voices faint and distant, but they seemed to be guiding me out of this place. And then, as if a curtain had been lifted, I saw them, dozens of them, their faces pale and gaunt, their eyes hollow. They were the ones who had come before me, the ones who had never left. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My body was numb, my limbs heavy and unresponsive. The figures closed in around me, their whispers growing louder, more urgent. They were waiting for me. I realized the truth. I was one of them now. The cave was sealed, the entrance buried under tons of rock. But in the darkness, I opened my eyes. The others were there, waiting for me, their faces twisted in silent agony. I joined them, my spirit bound to this place, just as theirs were. We were the guardians of Nutty Putty Cave, the ones who would wait in the shadows, watching, whispering, until the next adventurer came seeking the birth canal. And when they did, we would be ready.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy your drink. My special customer, served with a special drink. One with my own secret spice. His name is Carter. Just an ordinary office worker from the building across the street, right opposite the cafe where I work part-time. I love Carter. He's also the only reason I've stuck with this boring, low-paying job for a whole year.
See you this afternoon, Ashley. Your coffee is so good, I might as well replace water with it.
I want to see him, make his coffee every day. And one day, he'll be mine. And that day is coming soon. I've been secretly adding pure caffeine powder to Carter's coffee for the past 3 months. He's so addicted to my coffee now that he comes back 3 times a day. Working at the cafe is pretty easy. During office hours, barely anyone leaves their desk for coffee. But that's only true for those who aren't addicted. Carter, on the other hand, my Carter, has been hooked on my coffee for months. I can predict the exact second he'll walk through that door. I head back behind the counter, preparing a special cup for my special customer. A black coffee, extra strong, overloaded with caffeine. And today's secret ingredient, my sweat. I believe that by passively absorbing my essence, Carter will unconsciously feel closer to me. With the perfect mix of science and mysticism, Carter will be mine soon. Today, I want Carter to receive my essence at the highest level, my menstrual blood.
Ashley, the coffee tastes a bit weird today. Kinda metallic.
Carter, you've already drunk my blood. From now on, you belong to me, okay? I love you so much, ever since the first time we met at this cafe.
You're insane! I could never love a lunatic like you.
Haha. Finally, I confessed my feelings to him. His reaction? Exactly as expected. But I'm not worried. Carter is addicted to my coffee. He'll come back soon. He has no choice. As I was cleaning up the cafe, waiting for Carter to come back, a rude customer suddenly barged in.
Who the hell is Ashley? Get out here!
I looked up, shocked to see Carter standing next to the loudmouth. But the way they stood together seemed too close.
Babe, is this the freak you were talking about?
I froze. Carter has a boyfriend? No way. Carter pressed a quick kiss on Chris's cheek, then shot me a look full of disgust.
Chris is my boyfriend. You should give up on your sick obsession.
I snapped. I screamed, slamming my fist on the table, my eyes darting around for something anything, a weapon. My fingers wrapped around a steaming hot cup of coffee from the machine, and then I threw it straight at their faces. They betrayed me. Now they'll have to live with their scarred, ugly faces, forever marked, forever judged. The scalding coffee splashed onto that home-wrecking bastard's skin. His agonizing screams filled the cafe, sending a rush of satisfaction through me like never before.
You crazy bitch, I'll kill you.
Chris, calm down. You're burned. I need to get you to a hospital. We'll deal with her later.
Their threats snapped me back to reality. They would come for me. I had to get out. Fast. I got fired. Of course it was that bastard Carter. He must have ratted me out to the cops and my boss. If he dared to betray me, if he wouldn't let me live in peace, then I'd drag him straight to hell with me. That night, I slipped into the cafe and swapped the sugar syrup with pure caffeine. Carter was addicted. He'd be back for his fix. But this time, he'd be drinking poison. Before leaving, I hid a small camera behind the counter. I wanted to see everything. I wanted to enjoy it. The next day, I sat in front of my computer, eyes glued to the live feed from the cafe. Just as I predicted, they had hired a new barista, and Carter, still convinced this place had the best coffee, came back for his usual fix. Through the camera, I noticed he looked exhausted. Taking care of that sick boyfriend must be tough, huh?
What kind of crap is this? Did you forget the sugar? Trying to choke me or what?
Oh, Carter, that coffee was never meant to be sweet. But don't worry, it's packed with caffeine. Just drink up, and it'll ease your suffering. Haha. I zoomed in on Carter's cup, watching the barista pump syrup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bumps. Should be enough. Carter downed his coffee in frustration, while I silently savored the moment. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, waiting for my masterpiece to unfold. And just as I hoped, the caffeine overdose hit. Hard. His body convulsed, foam bubbled from his mouth, like a fish gasping on dry land. I closed my laptop and took a slow sip of my Starbucks. Revenge had never tasted so sweet.